Want candy? Want candy now?
What is going on, everybody? Nazdarachi here, and it is a fabulous evening indeed. Happy 4th of July to all of my other American friends, and if you are not from America, just happy day to you in general. We do have the Final Fantasy VII Awakening Cloud event finally here in Record Keeper Global, so we are going to dive in and check that out. It just launched about 15 minutes ago, and I couldn't wait. I couldn't help myself. So, Final Fantasy VII being my second favorite of the Final Fantasies, right after 6. We have some really iconic characters. This banner is very, very strong. It features the game-breaking Cloud USB Force Stealer sword. So we are going to dive right in and check that out. Now, the event itself features some cool new 5-star dark abilities for magic and physical respectively. So those are definitely worth checking out. And the event itself is mostly centered around Cloud, Zack, and Sephiroth. As well, you'll see some reasonably good relics for Cait Sith. And some of the other stuff is just filler material, but some of it's not terrible. So our first item here is going to be the Game Breaker itself. It is Cloud's Force Stealer USB sword. We have 172 attack, no other stats, and unfortunately we only get the N-Wind bonus in synergy situations. It would be really great if this was all realms, but the USB definitely makes up for it. So we are looking at the Ultra Cross Slash here. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, because it is going to completely change the game. 5 physical wind and dark attacks to 1 target, temporarily raise the user's critical hit chance a massive amount, and enter Soldier EX mode. Soldier EX mode increases the damage of most of the user's physical attacks by a moderate amount, and enables the user to break the damage cap on all their standard attacks and abilities. So basically, we're going to see absurd combinations with just this and his BSB2, for example. You're going to be hitting ridiculous amounts of damage if you Imperil Wind, cast this, cast his BSB2. Don't even really need to worry about his OSB with this going on here. I have seen Clouds doing 5-6 hits in a row at 99k damage. Now, you can as well combo this in the future with a character like Bartz, who's going to make great use of it with double cast Spellblade, upwards of maybe even triple casting, and then each one of those hits being able to break the damage cap. I've seen Bartz doing easily 5 to 10 hits at 80,000 damage. So this item here is going to be absurd. This is one of the main items we're shooting for here. I'm actually shooting for all 3 of the top banner relics on this banner. Unfortunately, I do not have accurate percent information for data mines on the percent chance to pull. This banner literally just came out, so none of that's going to be generated quite yet. Next up, we have a great chain soul break for Zack here, the Enhancer Sword. Also 172 attack, and unfortunately also synergy only boost to wind damage. Now we are looking at the CSB Lucky Stars. Activate a wind chain to raise the wind damage of all allies a small amount, temporarily increase the attack of all allies a large amount, and increase the damage of their critical hits. So it doesn't provide a boost to actual critical chance. You're going to want to combo this with another soul break that boosts crit chance, and you are going to be having a field day with this. If you mix this up again with Cloud's USB and his BSB2 for all these wind effects, throw in meteor shots for wind imperil, you are going to be doing a massive amount of wind damage. I can think of a ton of really good hybrid and physical wind themed teams where this is going to see tons of action. So again, another item that I would absolutely love to have. If I had to prioritize, I would say that Cloud's USB would be first, probably Sephiroth's BSB2 just as a fanboy item I would want second, and then this Enhancer definitely third right here. Honestly, Enhancer and Sephiroth's BSB2 are kind of tied for second place. So speaking of that, we do have the Yoshiyuki Shinuchi. It is Sephiroth's BSB2 Katana, 137 attack, and constant small boost to dark damage. This does kind of conflict with his OSB sword, which does have much higher attack stat, but only has the synergy boost to dark damage. So you might actually find yourself using this Katana on Sephiroth just for that plus dark damage. I don't know, we're going to have to hope we get it and see what we play with here. So we do have the Octa Slash, a very mainline and cool ability that Sephiroth displays in Dissidia, Final Fantasy VII, and Advent Children to a degree as well. We have 8 physical dark non-elemental attacks to one target, grant shield to the user, which enables them to avoid 2 physical or magic attacks, infuse the user with the power of dark, and grant haste burst mode to the user. I like this multi-purpose dual blink it has on it here. That's going to help Sephiroth very craftily avoid damage, and it doesn't really matter what the source is, so it's going to be useful no matter what the situation. They're definitely showing Sephiroth some love here by giving him an entry with lots of effects to it. This is more than what we see on all of the BSB1s really in the entire game, and it's definitely a top tier BSB2, especially if you are building a physical dark team. You'll definitely want to consider throwing Sephiroth on there. You have the Black Wing burst ability, 3 to 5 physical dark non-elemental attacks to one target. The number of attacks dealt depends on the user's attack stat. And Fallen Angel, 2 physical dark non-elemental attacks to all targets, and stat bargain, so defense down for moderate attack increase. They are stacking Sephiroth here to be very viable. He's got a very relevant dark BSB here with the bargain and the shield. You buff his stats, he'll be doing great DPS here. The only thing unfortunately that it's missing would be some type of reduced cast time on the first command there, but even still, this is an amazing BSB, and I really hope I get it, you guys. Keep our fingers crossed we don't get trolled in Final Fantasy VII like we did in 6. God, man, I would be sad. We want this to be a good holiday. So next up, we actually have a really good BSB for Cait Sith here. The Blue Megaphone instrument, 81 attack, 105 magic, 137 mind. No bonus effects, unfortunately. And we have the BSB Lucky Girl. Temporarily raise the attack of all allies a moderate amount, defense a small amount, and critical hit chance a large amount. Grant haste burst mode to the user. Now this would be an effect like I was just talking about that would stack amazingly well with Zack's Chain Soul Break to get that critical hit chance up, and then Zack's going to provide the critical hit damage buff. So keeping that in mind, great stat buffs. This entry effect here is very, very good. You have the Toy Box Hammer, 2 white magic non-elemental attacks to one target, temporarily lower its attack and defense a small amount. So not only do we have buffs on entry, but we have great stacking breakdowns on the commands here. Toy Box Fat Chocobo, 2 white magic non-elemental attacks to one target, and temporarily lower its magic and resistance a small amount. I'm not going to say Cait Sith is as good of a debuffer as Vaughn is, but this is a very, 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 very good debuffing burst soul break here. Cait Sith, as we can see up inside of him right now, is a very frustrating and annoying character in Final Fantasy VII. A lot of people generally love him or hate him, and I can't say I'm a huge fan, but if you were to happen to pull this BSB as well as Cait Sith's other relic on the banner, you have a top tier debuffer in your hands, and he's a big fat Moogle, so we gotta show him some love. Next up, we do have an item that would be a dupe for me. Hope to God I can avoid it, although combining it or keeping an extra for 7 synergy is not a terrible idea. Just with all the other good stuff on the banner, I really am hoping to avoid this one. But this is a great chance to pick up Cloud's BSB2 here, the Ultima Blade. It will go amazingly well with his USB in terms of wind damage output, and as well keep Zack's Chain Soul Break in mind when using this also. 135 attack, no bonus effects, and the BSB Cloud Cycle, 8 physical wind non-elemental attacks to one target, temporarily infuse the user with the power of wind, and grant haste burst mode to the user. So the End Wind will be very, very useful for buffing his damage. The wind team-ups here we could just go over for quite a while. I'm not going to do it, but with all these different wind effects stacking, the Chain Soul Break, this BSB2 with the End Wind, the commands, the USB, the crit chance buffs, the crit hit damage buffs, we are looking at some pretty insane damage combinations on this banner. Now this item is reoccurring. It's been on 2 separate banners. I don't want to say recently, but the last Final Fantasy VII event featured it, and one of the lead-in Summerfest banners as well featured it, with Squall's BSB2 also. So if you haven't already picked this one up, this is a great third opportunity to try and do so. I hope that you get it if you want it, but we are trying to avoid that one tonight. Next up, we have a Super Soul Break for Mog. Interestingly enough, there is no Legend Materia Relics on this banner, so right from BSBs to SSBs, like we are more traditionally used to here. The Green Megaphone Instrument, 81 attack, 105 magic, 120 mind, and no bonus effects. Moogle Dance is your Super Soul Break. Temporarily lower the attack, magic, defense, and resistance of all enemies a large amount, and grant major regen to all allies. Now, the full break effect on this is amazingly useful. If you have it with his BSB, you're going to be buffing and mostly debuffing the hell out of your enemies. So this will work in tandem with what Cait Sith has going on in terms of his support characteristics very well. It's actually a really good SSB. Anytime you have a full break or a penta break SSB, it is definitely something worth keeping in mind. Good effects, very, very stackable. Not something that I really want on this banner, but if I do happen to pull Cait Sith's SSB and his BSB, I can't say that I would be too disappointed. Next up, we do have another dupe item for me, the Heavy Vulcan. This is a Pentabreak SSB for Barret, kind of like what I was just saying. The only downside is at the current time in the game, Barret is not a very good character, and even into the foreseeable future, he doesn't get anything that really makes him stand out. Now, he is good for wrathing and entrusting, for example, and pentabreaking, but beyond that, Cait Sith is definitely going to be a much more favorable support character for your Final Fantasy VII adventures here. We have 120 attack on this gun arm, no bonus effects, and the Hyper Grenade Bomb, 10 ranged physical, fire, and non-elemental attacks to random targets, and temporarily pentabreak them a moderate amount. So you do have the 10 attacks, it is random targets, but being that there's 10 attacks, you are almost guaranteed to hit all the enemies you're facing in a multi-enemy situation. Now, this again is a very useful SSB, but Barret is a little bit lacking as a character. We kind of just went over all that, so I'm not going to get too much more into it. This is not something that we will be looking at on this banner. Even if you already don't have it, this is just kind of filler material at this point. Another dupe for me here be an SSB for Vincent, the short barrel, 81 attack, 126 magic, no other stats, no bonus effects, and the SSB Bestial Roar, 8 magic fire attacks to one target and temporarily infuse the user with the power of fire. The attacks on this one are reasonable, but the real value is that infusion of the power of fire, and fire will help as well if you do have his BSB. So really, this is just another one of those combo SSBs that are losing relevancy the more the game goes on, but for now, you still might be able to get viable usage. Honestly, I only have 2 SSBs for Vincent, so I'm still missing his BSB. So the combat shotgun is for Rufus. This soul break is actually almost identical to General Leo's, but it just features a different element. So 120 attack and no bonus effects. Your Super Soul Break Mako Barrage, 6 range physical, dark, and non-elemental attacks to all targets, temporarily lower their resistance to dark, and the damage dealt increases when facing fewer enemies. Again, General Leo is just holy instead of dark, so really they are almost identical, and the Dark Imperil is actually quite useful, but Rufus is probably not one of the AAA characters that you're going to want to build with your mainline Dark teams. You can get that Dark Imperil elsewhere from much more powerful characters, so for right now, Rufus is going to stay on the bench indefinitely. So we're really hoping to avoid that one. SSB Javelin here for Sid. Now finally we're back to an item that would not be a dupe for me. 132 attack and no bonus effects. Pilot Steel, basically your shout effect from Final Fantasy VII. Raise the attack a large amount and grant them haste. It's actually identical to shout. This will allow you to not have to bring Ramza in a Final Fantasy VII synergy situation. I'm hoping to avoid this one as well, you guys. I know that sounds really greedy, that I only want the mainline items on this banner, and really only 4 out of the 5 because I already have Ultima Blade. So we'll take basically anything from this point forward. The Blue Megaphone, Sephiroth's BSB, the Enhancer, or the Force Stealer. Guys, let's start with 100 gem draw and see what happens. I'm pretty much 0 for 10 on 100 gem draws, so of all the banners to get lucky on, man, this would be the one right here. So let me accelerate this process. I'll be right back. So the 100 gem draw has been done, Every time I go into a banner really wanting or expecting certain things, it usually goes poorly. So, not an amazing start. We do have a 4-star item here. So let's go head first with the Mithril first and see what happens. Cross your fingers, y'all. The first 11 pull has been made. Oh boy. So we got 2 5-stars. No 6-star love yet, but that's not necessarily a horrible sign yet. Because we're looking at Kate Sith and Sephiroth BSBs. So, a dupe and a dupe. This is a rough start, you guys. So we got the double dupe. This is for all the tea in China here. If we can't come up with something good, then it's gonna be a sad day. Oh my lord. Well, honestly, I hope that's Cloud's USB. Could be Zach's Chain Soul Break. Cross your fingers, you guys.
So what if it looks hopeless? If it were me, I still wouldn't give up. Embrace your dreams. And whatever happens, protect your honor as soldier. Well, okay. You never made soldier. But it's what's in here that counts. Well, you need a hand with him? You already beat him once, didn't you? This should be a cinch. Yeah.
Alright, we came out with at least 1 out of 3. Now, I am super happy with this, you guys. At least 1 out of the 3. I'm gonna have to Roaming Warrior the Chain Soul Break at this point, and I don't have any Chain Soul Breaks yet, but we did come out with Cloud's Ultra Soul Break. This draw will be able to power me through the D300 Bahamut a little bit easier than what I was having the other night. So unfortunately, no love for Sephiroth. We missed out on his BSB2, and no love for Zach with the Chain Soul Break. Still empty-handed when it comes to Chain Soul Breaks. But we got an amazing draw here, you guys. I am super excited. I hope that if you guys are pulling on this banner, you get some luck here and pull something like this. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Relic Review. We had fun with a great Final Fantasy VII themed event here. Stay tuned. There will be some live streams coming soon for some of the other stuff we still have going on. Summerfest will be wrapping up, but it's not completely over yet. They still might throw us a curveball. I hope you guys do have amazing luck on your pulls. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to leave me a like. Definitely helps me out, gets me out there on YouTube a little bit. And as well, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Definitely love to see more people joining the family here and see some friendly faces in the comments. As well, speaking of that, comment below what you pulled on this banner. I would love to be jealous if you got Sephiroth's BSB2 and Zach's Chain Soul Break. But hopefully you guys did get something. Let me hear your comments on what you're pulling for, what you're saving for. And until next time, this is Nazdarachi. Keep it first class, y'all. Soldier out.